All right. Hello, everyone. Now that I can confirm that I can hear my own voice, hope the audio is good for you. Thank you all for being here. My name is that working? Anthony Barokas. I'm the Chief Gearhead. Nice little animated title here. Thank you all for being here to watch this episode of StreamTek. It's the end of January, or it's near the end of January already. It's kind of hard to believe. We're already like almost through a month in 2026. Happy New Year if I haven't seen you already. Thank you all for being here. If you haven't chimed in already, feel free to let me know where you are watching from. I don't have that on a button. This is being created in Restream. As I have said, I am doing multicasting through Restream. I'm going out live to Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook on the StreamTek channel, and Facebook on my page. At least that's the plan. So if you are watching on any of those, feel free to jump in and throw your comments in, because you are part of the show. You know, your comments help drive the content of the show, and the question that you have could very well be the question that other people have. They just don't want to feel, or they can't type it in. Also, I'm just going to throw this out there again. I am doing this on Restream, and I am using Restream Studio at 1080p. And if you like what you see in Restream Studio, like the ability to bring in 5 different destinations and bring in all the comments from those different destinations, and I'm using the studio. Now, I'm actually, you know, I did a show on Restream Studio separately where you're bringing in multiple sources and everything. And if you ever watch the Bird Dog show, the Bird Dog live session, which I work with Bird Dog on, that's actually produced completely in Restream. Pre-show, the slide presentation, the giveaway at the end, the post-show music, bringing in the guests, all of that completely in Restream. There's like, okay, I do use a computer to actually, like, I bring in a screen share to do the slide to do the giveaway at the end. But that is on the same computer. So whatever, that is all happening in Restream. And I have, hey, you know, I have created an affiliate link. So if you want to sign up and check out Restream using my affiliate link, that would be awesome. It's a product that I have been using for quite some time, actually. And I'm happy to do a little bit of promotions with them. There is a free plan. You can go check it out and everything. And if you decide you kind of like what you see, then you can, you know, step up to the studio or, you know, one of the pro plans. So you can either use the QR code over here or type in bit.ly st for StreamTek-Restream. So that will work there. So enough of the ad. So a bit of disclaimer, I'm going to show you a ton of stuff today. Nobody is providing any of this stuff. There's no paid sponsorship in this show. Nobody's paying to have the product mentioned. And in reality, NDI as an organization or a group, or as a, I don't know, a department of a for-profit company called VizRT, it's not been spun out into an independent organization. So they control NDI, and I have the ability to update the NDI on my laptop, but I don't have the ability to update the NDI on the YOLO box. That's up to YOLO. I don't have the ability to update the NDI on the cameras. That's up to the camera manufacturers. So the different flavors of NDI on these different devices are kind of like out of my control, other than kind of the laptop, because I can control the NDI on that device. If you are using the newest TriCaster S software on your own hardware, that's kind of like, I don't know. It used to be that the TriCaster was beholden and you had to wait to update the TriCaster through the TriCaster software to get the new NDI. But now they've got the TriCaster S, which is basically like vMix, except it costs a lot more. And I don't know if then you get to update the NDI or not. And when I talk about NDI, let me just hold this up again. This is from May of 2020. This is an article I produced for Streaming Media Magazine. It's called All In on NDI. And on that table, there's a Bird Dog 100, a P200. There's a converter on a camera over here. This is the Panasonic, the first camcorder with NDI built in. The old Bird Dog PTZ controller. I have a TriCaster right here. I have vMix over here. We're doing comms over NDI. So, and then I've got a little NewTek thing right there. I used to have a NewTek NDI camera. So if you are old enough, and this is not actually going to work very well, if you are old enough to know what this is, and it's kind of hard to show because the antennas are blue, but I'm using a blue key. So let me just do this. Create a new, no, not new, not a new graphics. Let me come over here. I'm going to create a new, just because I want you to see this in person. Here you go, save. Scroll to the end. Hello. Okay, my mic is still working. So this is the original. You can see they're really blue. If you know what this is, you've been around NDI a long time. This is the first wireless NDI converter. And honestly, it's one of the only wireless NDI converters. And I've asked other companies, I've asked Mevo, take the Mevo Start, take out the camera, just put an HDMI cable in the front. I've asked them to do it. I've asked Bird Dog to do it. I've asked everybody to do it. Nobody does it. At the same time, everybody's got wireless cameras. So, you know, you either believe in wireless NDI or you don't believe in wireless NDI. And it's kind of like everybody does believe in wireless NDI, but they won't make this anymore. So I'm hoping somebody jumps on this and makes the newest version of wireless NDI. This is actually HX1, which has been depreciated in most new things. So these don't have a lot of value anymore. If you're looking at these going, oh, I'm going to buy a whole bunch of those on eBay. I did that. And I can tell you right now that it'll work on a computer, but it might not work on dedicated switchers because HX1 has been quietly depreciated. At no point when they say it supports HX do they say HX 2 and 3 and not 1. They don't say that. And, you know, that's sort of by design. They don't want to create confusion because then everybody's going to be asking, well, which is 1, which is 2, which is 3, and then it just becomes confusing. So this is HX1, and these were really cool. These were, you know, HDMI loop through, not just in Ethernet or wireless. You can record, you got USB, audio in and out, 12 volt input. You can run it on your camera, just clip it on top. I digress. So let's go back to my studio. There we go. So this, I removed the blue, and that makes it hard to see the blue antennas. So thank you all again for being here. As always, I love to know where everyone is watching. Oh, did it move? Yeah, where's everyone watching from today? And if you have any streaming questions, it doesn't have to be specifically related to wireless NDI. Throw them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. If it's too far astray, I may just say I can't answer that right now. If I don't know the answer, I will be a real living human and I will say, I don't know. I am not going to be AI. You don't tune into me for AI, and I won't just scour the web in 0.26 seconds and come up with an answer that's 50% lies. I will just tell you I don't know. Bowles Promo TVZ. Hope no cameras crash this time. Fingers crossed. Actually, the cameras didn't crash at all last time. It was actually pretty remarkable. We were all wired, I believe. We were all wired, and I overloaded the Extreme. The Extreme was doing multiple 4K wired inputs, you know, HDMI, at the same time as it was doing multiple 4K NDI inputs, as well as I had about 15 different multi-view layouts, and that apparently was just too much for the RAM that's in the tablet. So per the logs that I uploaded, I had exceeded the RAM, and it just, you know, like our president, gave up. Let's see. Good morning to Pico Riviera, California. Thank you all for being there. Good morning to both promo from Mumbai, Australia. I hope I said that right. Mumbai, Australia. Are you playing Steve Aoki? No, that was actually, am I portraying Steve, or the music I was playing is, I think, no, it's not Incubus. It begins with I. It was actually provided by the Facebook Music for Creators library. And that actually doesn't matter because I have had my stuff restricted for copyright violations by people who don't own the music, even though it was provided by Facebook to be cleared. And the group that provides it actually has it on their YouTube channel and says it's cleared for use. Somebody still claimed use of it. So whatever. Question, do I need a PoE switch capable of handling NDI? When and why would I use one? PoE and NDI are two different things. NDI is video over standard network. You know, there are these other things out there, these wireless transmitters. These are not, is that magnetic or something? These are not TCP/IP. These are point to point. And I actually have them running right now just to mess with the wireless signal in the office. These are actually like live right now, transmitting and receiving, and it's got a video input. So these are actually running right now, and they're warm because they've been up for about 30 minutes. And that is part of the challenges of Wi-Fi, is that Wi-Fi is not the only thing on 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz. Those are unlicensed frequencies. So if somebody like Hollyland wants to put a transmitter on 2.4 gigahertz, they do. And it takes up a swath of frequencies, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's got a little channel button. You don't know what frequencies or what channels or what zone of the 2.4 gigahertz frequencies or 5 gigahertz frequencies it's taking over. Unless you have a signal sweep, which I actually do not have, so I can't really show you. But Wi-Fi is standard networking protocol. Ethernet is standard networking protocol. PoE just has to do with providing power over that Ethernet cable. So do you need a PoE switch capable of handling NDI? If you want to do both PoE and NDI, I would recommend that. Yes, I actually have. It's right over there. I'll go get it. Netgear makes a whole line of AV switches that are designed for both NDI and Dante and AV over IP. They're designed to handle it. They understand the packets. They understand the packets have to get through in a timely manner. It's not like normal data where if your web page comes and then hesitates and comes and hesitates and there's bottlenecks, it's not really an issue. It just loads eventually. Video is not that. Video is, these packets have to be delivered in order all the time from all of the cameras to all of the destinations. So it gets really complex the bigger and stronger and the more demands you place on your network. I have a, this is kind of what I started with like 6 years ago. This is a Netgear. This was actually installed in a rack with my TriCaster, which I no longer have anymore. This is for powered Ethernet ports and 4 not powered Ethernet ports. And this was cool because it was in the rack with the TriCaster and my, it was a wireless router, but it was not for wireless NDI. It was just so that I could wirelessly access things or share it with a laptop or something like that. So those devices, the WAN, the TriCaster, the router, all of that stuff was over here on the unpowered, because I don't need to provide powered Ethernet to my TriCaster. It's a powered computer or whatever. And then I had powered ports that would go out to a camera. Similarly, I then upgraded. I didn't like the lumpy on top. So, you know, I got one that's got a power supply built in, and there you go. So there's my WAN, and then there's 4 power things. This is for small deployments. I have different things for different tasks. I don't need to bring a huge rack for everything. I take what I need and I build it to suit. Why would you use a PoE switch capable of handling NDI? Is because you want the most robust capability possible. That's why. Let's continue down the list. Bros, my iPhone won't play higher than 1080p. It may be the app that you're using, because the earlier iPhone app for NDI, I think, topped out at 1080p. I believe there are newer apps that will give you 4K if you need it. Carlos says, hello, hope you are good. Thank you for being there. Wolfgang says, hello from Germany. We all love NDI, don't we? I do. Obsbot Tail 2 versus iPhone for indoor streaming video quality. Well, the iPhone actually gives you 3 different focal lengths with 3 different cameras. So each of those cameras, if you need a really wide, we'll go with the iPhone. If you need more of a telephoto, go with the iPhone. If you need just like a normal lens, then you could go with either, unless you wanted to be able to pan it and look somewhere else and look up there and then maybe crop a little bit and then zoom back out. Then you're going to go with the Obsbot. The Tail 2, the Tail 2 actually has a 5x optical zoom, and it is very pretty. If you watch the previous last week's episode, where I did some, let's just see, go to my live, is it the lives? Yes, if you go to PC side by side, if you go to the 4K PTZ shootout, actually I just uploaded the video of that yesterday, the 4K camera shootout. If you go right there, you will see that the Obsbot Tail 2 looks really nice as long as you stay within the optical zoom part. You know, if you try to say, oh, well, it goes to 12x, not really. It goes to 5x and then it crops in on the sensor to go to 12x. You will see clear differences at 12x between an optical zoom and the Obsbot Tail 2. But if your shot is wider, they all really look good. So the iPhone, I think, will give you a wider shot. The iPhone won't give you as telephoto because the iPhone telephoto is like 3x or something, depending on which iPhone you have. You know, very big variation there. They can't keep it consistent. The Tail 2 is a 5x optical zoom, and it still gives you that ability to look around and save different presets, which you're not going to get with a phone. So, as always, indoor streaming video quality, I would say either would deliver good results. The iPhone also has the advantage of computational photography in that if you have a window behind you, the iPhone is actually going to take 2 different pictures and then, you know, dynamically try to put those together so you'll get detail out in the window and detail inside. The Obsbot doesn't do that. It has an HDR mode, which takes what's coming off the sensor and tries to compress it a little bit, but it's still limited by that single exposure. Trying to move my cursor here. Chris the investor, would like to know how to create a totally wireless setup for my PTZ cameras and YOLO box. No lags or drop frames. Well, you can try as much as you want, but as I had started to say, you're going to be subject to what other Wi-Fi, what other wireless is in the area, the environment you're in, what other conflicts might be, the distances you're trying to cover, and things like that. So there's a lot of things that are out of your control. I know you would like to do that, but at the same time, it can be problematic. These can be a little bit more reliable in that they are, you know, you can channelize them, and then you get 4 of these things just shooting at you, and, you know, or 3 to 4 of these things. And that can, you know, depending upon how much you want to spend, you get more reliability and less latency. And you're not reliant on a network per se. So that is, you know, when you talk about lag time between what's happening and getting to you, that's going to have generally less lag than NDI because you're not compressing it to NDI, decompressing it back from NDI. You're staying all at, you know, the HD resolution. Hey, Andrea says hello from Greece. KiloView makes NDI encoder also. The KiloView has made several NDI encoders, including small portable ones, the P1, P2. I think they're on the P3 now, or the P2, P3 Mini, I think it is. They are very capable, very powerful. Plus, they also have a cloud solution that they can hook up to. So you're not limited to just doing your local area. You could bounce it around the world if you need to. KiloView is definitely a company that has solutions. And you are correct. That would be an on-camera wireless NDI transmitter. So yes, thank you for that. TP-Link, EA, he said outdoor and OC is for very strong Wi-Fi. there are lots of solutions. That's kind of what we're going to talk about today, is the fact that we can't necessarily, there's not a specification because wireless is so, we don't know what else is in the air. It's kind of hard to really specify this will work. Well, it might work well in a remote area, but then you go into a big city where there's lots more congestion and lots more RF, it's not going to work. You know, I'll give you an example. I had set up a wireless setup back when I was using Switcher Studio, which uses Wi-Fi for cameras to an iPad. And I went to the NAB, the National Association of Broadcasters Conference in Las Vegas. I was in the hall. I had my tablet in front of me. That was my one camera. And then I had it wired to a little wireless hotspot hub. And then I was trying to go wireless to, wait for it, a camera that was this far away. It was wireless to here. It was an iPhone that far away. On the NAB show floor with a bunch of companies, Teradek and everybody else showing these off and all kinds of wireless, I could not get a reliable signal from here to here. That's not very far. That's 1 meter. I could not get a reliable signal 1 meter away. I had to like quickly go somewhere and have them wire up a wired connection to the phone to get my second camera in. It was just like really surprising, but understandable. So if you want to have something that's will work 100% of the time, I think that might not be a goal that you can have. You got that one, TP Link. Ooh, Sharif, hello from Oman. Hello from Texas. Thank you for being there. One Media Solutions, One-on-One Media Solutions says hello from LaSalle, Illinois. Just ordered a new Edgear AV line 10-port switch, and you answered my questions. Thank you. Cool. I don't know how to get portable Ethernet if I'm doing work for clients. Run it off a battery. That's one of the things I liked about these. Now, the AV line is all AC powered, I believe. But this, 48 volts, 12.5 amps. I mean, yes, I've got an adapter on the top to go from AC to DC, but I could just as easily build myself a DC converter to get there. You know, so you can go from 12 volt and bump it up to 48 volts if you need to, and run all that stuff to go. And that covers all the questions we got so far. What you can see over here on my right is a selection of routers, and this beast of a router. This is the Republic of Gamers Asus. I have to turn it over. AX6000 dual band gaming router. You notice it's still only a dual band gaming router. It's not a tri-band. It doesn't have 6. This is a dual band gaming router. 2.4, 5 gigahertz. Input 19 volts at 2.3 amps. So again, I could power this via DC if I just bumped it up to 19. Oops, sorry. I have it cabled. I have my WAN is this is a 2.5 gigabit port. And then there's a special LAN port over here that is also 2.5 gigabits. So this is designed, it's a gaming router. It's designed to be very low latency, to move the data as fast as possible. And then I've got 4 1 gigabit LAN ports. It's also got USB ports, so you could technically use this with cellular internet connection, but it's moving a lot of data across the LAN. Remember, your upload and your LAN are completely different. I could be moving 10 cameras locally, a lot of data moving around, but my upload stream is probably only 4 megabits. It's nothing. So I can have a cellular connection to this as my upload, but the amount of stuff moving around is like an airport terminal. It's just all of this stuff moving around, but then there's one little thing that takes off. So remember, those are separate. You don't need to have, you know, a gigabit of upload in order to stream. You know, you just need to cover, I usually say 2 times what your stream is going to be. So if my stream is 4 megabits, I want to have at least 10 or so megabits upload speed tested over time fairly reliably so that I could comfortably do 5, give or take, because it always seems to fluctuate, and not have to worry about bumping or that rate coming down and impinging. That's what I'd like to do. So I purchased this specifically because the other router I have in my office, which is an Eero Pro 6, it also has 2.5 gigabit WAN and 1 gigabit LAN. And it's supposed to deliver 1 gigabit LAN and up to 700 kilobits via the wireless. But when I try to push 2 different NDI streams through it, don't change. When I try to push 2 different streams through it, I get hiccups, I get problems. So I realized not all routers, wireless routers, are created equal, which is why I went with the beast. And then I just went and I got this one. This actually just arrived yesterday. This is the Asus, this is an older unit, AX92U, input 19 volts, 1.75 amps. It does not have the 2.5 gigabit backplane. I have not tested this. But again, as I always say, I have several videos about, the top 215 tips, the top 12 tips and things like that. Those are things, and in all of them, test. Test them again, test them in different situations. Test it so hard you find where the breaking point is. It's like, oh, can I put an NDI camera through this? Great. Okay, good. How many NDI camera signals can I run through this? Have vMix on one side sending out 4 streams of NDI and then try to receive them in multiple places and cameras and try to push this and make it fail so you know where the failing point is. Because if you don't know where that failing point is, you're always going to, I don't know. Whereas if I can make the YOLOBox Extreme fail, I then know what not to do. Don't do, 4K wired inputs and 3 4K NDI inputs and an HD input and over a dozen different multi-views all being updated in real time on the screen. That was too much. Don't do that. But you don't know unless you push your gear there and make it fail. You need to know where the failing points are. That's why I always say test. And like I said, I haven't tested this, but if this does succeed, I actually have used this for NDI previously. I was on a production. They had purchased 2 of these, and we actually did wireless NDI from one room to another room via these, because these actually have a mesh node. So these are tri-band. So it uses 2 bands for local and 1 band as the channel between them. And I had one of these in a room with 3 cameras, and then I had another one in the control area, which was, down the hall about 100 feet. And it wirelessly transmitted those 3 NDI, full NDI, I think, streams to this receiver, which then went into the TriCaster. So it's kind of tested, but times have changed now. We're doing a lot of HX, and that's kind of what I wanted to show you today. And I'm actually just going to jump into this because I have things kind of set up already. Boom. So as you can see over here on my vMix laptop, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 NDI cameras. All of these are wireless. All of these. Now I find that this one, I'm clicking the wrong thing. This one tends to stutter a little bit. I don't know why. It freezes. There it goes. It starts to freeze a little bit, and I don't know why. It's just this one camera that seems to have an issue. But the rest of them, I have a tail 2 right here. I have a Mach-E. No, that's the tail air up there. And then right next to that, I have a Mach-E live. Hello, Maki. A little overexposed, but whatever. And then over here, I have an AV cans that I've done a video on. So AV cans, Maki live, tail 2, tail air, bird dog, X1 Ultra. These are actually all running at 4K. I think 4K. The AV cans may actually still be set to HD. And then I even added another one just pointing out the window, which, you know, I guess is not the best choice because we don't know if it's dropping frames, but it's just another source on the network. Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 NDI streams, and all of these are wireless. How wireless? I mean, they're wireless. Okay, and let's call this, let's do side by side and call this one up. So, I mean, it's wireless. And I picked up the OBS-bot. I left this one special so that I could actually do this. And you can see that I rotate the camera and I don't rotate the image. It's because it's got, this is a PTZ-R. There's actually a rotate in there. So you could kind of use this as a gimbal. Da, 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 da. I guess it gave up at a certain point. Oh yeah, thanks. Flip the image. Okay, thanks. So that is an example of what I'm talking about. All of these are wireless. There's nothing, they're all going into this router right over here that you can see. This is actually what I got the bird dog pointing at. The bird dog is pointing at these 2 routers. So they're all going wireless into this. And then I always recommend going via a wire to what you're switching to. So that's sort of like the caveat that the laptop is on a wire. The Extreme here is on a wire because I have this sitting on the table with the powered gear. I might as well have the switcher and this connected via a wire because they're both being powered via wires. Technically, yeah, I could be a wireless for everything. And technically, yes, the Extreme has built-in Wi-Fi. So does the laptop. I could do that. But those Wi-Fis are not designed to do to these levels. There's a reason why this is as big as it is with as much heat removal as it has, because moving that much data takes compute. And to do that, you know, you need to be able to get the heat out. You have to handle that much power to be able to do all that. So by showing you this, you know, I didn't go through the whole setup process, but basically it's pairing each of these cameras individually, and they all pair differently. The Bird Dog X1 Ultra pairs via a web page. So I actually have to use a web page wired to teach it the wireless password and then disconnect the wire, you know, I reboot it. I find it works better if I reboot the camera, have it boot back up. It finds the wireless hotspot, and then there it is. You see it right over here. That's the Bird Dog. And then same thing, the Tail 2 OBS-bot has an app. So you go into the app, it finds these devices via Bluetooth. And when you say connect, it says connect how? Okay, connect via my ROG on the 5G channel, you know, and then I go to the Tail Air. Connect how? ROG 5G. The Maki Live has an app. Go through that app. How to connect how? ROG 5G. Just, you know, going through each of these, teaching them this is the router that I want to use. And that way, when I get to a location, since they already know this device, and they're darn sure not going to know any devices at a random location I go to, like an expo or a conference or something like that, I can set this up, plug this in, let it get fully booted up and ready, and then start turning my cameras on. And when they boot up, they're going to go, oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. There it is. And they all just connect to this thing. Now, all of these cameras are in this studio. They're all right here. But the magic of NDI is that I have it over here on my laptop, But NDI, one of the key advantages of NDI is because it's a standard Ethernet protocol, I can then access it via multiple things at the same time. So one example of that is, oh, well, I could use the HotSpot app on a device. If that device is on the Wi-Fi network, I can then have somebody controlling the HotSpot phone, the HotSpot cameras via the app, like that. Or I could call up a different app. I could call up Studio Monitor. And then I could pick one of all these devices that are on the network here. Let's just say no, I don't want to do the Mach-E. Actually, let's do, I don't know which tail air it is. Let's try this one. Is this? Yes, that's the right one. Ooh. Let me turn down my laptop audio. There it is. Okay. So here I now have controls in front of me, and I can give somebody a laptop and say, go set presets. I'm in vMix. I'm building a show. I'm doing whatever. I'm running pre-show or whatever. Somebody else is on a laptop or a tablet or whatever. And they could be like, oh, okay, so this is position 1. And then here, I'm going to zoom out, and this is going to be store position 2. And then I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, and then I'm going to pan to the left a little bit. And I'm going to say store, this is position 3. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Back to 2. Back to 1. So you can have somebody controlling a camera, controlling multiple cameras with the Studio Monitor app and the presets while you are in vMix or whatever you're using to switch your NDI sources. Again, these are all set to 4K. And this is a 4K app show. And oh, I had it set up before. There we go. And we are chugging along at receiving 140 megabits and sending 700 kilobits. That's nothing. So I'm receiving about 140 megabits of data into my laptop right now. So the advantage is that I'm using HX2, H.264 for all of these cameras. I have not set any of them to H.265 because I don't know if the Extreme is savvy with taking in a bunch of H.265 streams. It's a bit more compute. And on the Extreme, do I have the Extreme here? Let me try, go back to me. And then as I go through my inputs just to see which one it might be. Let's go over here. 4. I think that's the wrong one. Oh, that's program. Okay, so let me go in here and go into my settings, HDMI out, whichever one is. Oh, they're both set to program. Thanks. Mirror out. No, mirror out. There we go. And now I can do side by side, and you can see the Extreme is also seeing these same sources at the same time. So I can have the one source that's going into vMix, and that same source is going into the Studio Monitor, and that same source is going into the Extreme. I could be doing 2 different shows for 2 different audiences. I could be doing a vertical show and a horizontal show because the Ultra does vertical as well. So if you have 2 YOLOBox Ultras, you could be doing a vertical show and a horizontal show on 2 different Ultras with NDI sources going to both of them at the same time. Now, admittedly, you're going to have to do a center crop on the Ultra to do your vertical stuff, but still, you have that ability. You can see I've got the tail air, the AV cans, the Mach-E Live. I come over here, I say NDI. It's going to list all of my sources. It's looking on the network, seeing what's available. Anybody. And then it says, oh, well, look at all this stuff. Let's do the tail 2. Done. And there's my tail 2. Hello, tail 2. You're right there. I can bring that up. So you can see I've got these sources. This is the tail 2 right here. And it's on my Extreme. At the same time, it's on my vMix on my laptop. So that way, that one, that enables you the flexibility to use whatever source you want, wherever you want to. Now, remember, one of the key things that's making this happen, other than the NDI platform and everything, is the fact that this device is able to shove that data wherever I want it to go. If you have an underpowered router or an underpowered switch, and you start calling up that same source on 2 or 3 different destinations, then it's sending that stream to 2 different places. It's sending 2 streams. And then if you have your program out going to a bunch of different places, that's multiple streams going in multiple different destinations. Your total bandwidth is going up. And that's a challenge for lesser routers and switches. That's why I went with something that has a 2.5 gigabit backplane, because I'm like, okay, if I get this, it should be able to do this just fine. Even if it's not specifically made for NDI, it should be able to get through adequately. And there is a part of NDI called multicast, but I do not think the majority of StreamTek viewers are going to be needing multicast. The one place I could definitely see multicast would be needed is if you were doing church or something like that, and you wanted to have your program out go to 100 monitors in the lobby. What you don't want to do is send 100 times that output to 100 different screens. That would be bad. Multicast says, listen, I'm only going to send this once, with the understanding that the other devices understand multicast and they just receive. It's not the same bi-directional capability that I get with the normal NDI setup. Because with the NDI, I'm able to reach into the camera to tell it what to do. I'm able to zoom, I'm able to pan, I'm able to adjust the autofocus and other settings. When I set those presets for location, pan, zoom, and all of that, those are actually pushed into the camera. Those are saved on the camera side so that they can be saved from one device and accessed from another device. This person sets the preset, this person says, go to 2, because it's in the camera. So that bi-directional thing is not what multicast is for. Multicast is like, my program is going out and I'm just casting it. Multicast. I'm casting it to multi-destinations. At that point, that NDI signal is not listening to 50 different inputs, all telling it what to do. You understand? I hope that clarifies what NDI is expected to do, what it can do, and the best way to use it a little bit. Got a question come in. I have a Nighthawk M7 Pro mobile hotspot. I have tail 2 and 2 tail L cameras. Can or would I connect a router to the hotspot? I'm just trying to figure out how to run all this stuff. The Nighthawk M7 Pro mobile hotspot, and I have an older one. I have a M1, not the M5, which was 5 gig. I think I have the M1, and I did not find it reliable as a wireless device. It was, I think it's those mobile hotspots are really designed for data, web pages, things like that. To deliver things. It's not designed for a stream to come across the device. The nice thing about the Nighthawks is they have that Ethernet port, so you could technically plug your whatever you're going to use to switch with into the single Ethernet port. What I have done on events where I've used the M7 out on location for a wedding that was out in the middle of nowhere, I had the M7 up high on a stand to make sure it could get a good cellular, because we were pretty remote. And then I ran an Ethernet cable to a separate wireless router like this. Now, technically the M7 is a router. It's going to issue DHCP to whatever, but I didn't leverage that. It issued DHCP to the next thing in the chain, which was this. well, okay, it wasn't this one, but it was a wireless router. It was a good thing I did that, because outdoors in the summer in Texas in the sun, that my Nighthawk overheated and shut itself off. So I lost my internet upstream of my wireless router. I was thankful because all of the things that I had set up and paired and connected and they were routed and all this stuff, that stayed. I could still record. It didn't interfere with my connections, my cameras, or my recording. My stream had issue. So I brought it down, found a spot that was in the shade, let it cool off a little bit, fired it back up, and then when the WAN reappeared over here, I initiated the stream again, and it worked for the rest of the day. So there's a good case for separating your tasks. If you have a Nighthawk M7 Pro mobile hotspot, use it for your cellular connectivity. Then connect all your devices to your local router that's going to be giving out new DHCP, that's going to be handling all the traffic locally. And that connection between them is literally just your upload going out. So that this device, if this device fails, you still have everything connected for your local record. And, you know, in my contracts, I state that I have no control over cellular. If cellular is not available in an area, if it's spotty, if it goes out, if there's too many people and it's not reliable, you know, I have no control over the signal once I throw it into the air. So my primary deliverable is the record. Yes, we will stream it and we, you know, use bonding and all that. But at the same time, I don't have control over the cellular networks. I can't tell them prioritize me over all the other people at this event. Forget them. I can't. I'm not Elon Musk. I can't do that. So, you know, you could go with Starlink and avoid your local, you know, audience and just shoot it straight up into the sky to satellites. A lot of people do that as well. So that is separation of tasks helps. And then it also makes sure that if this goes down, it doesn't take this down with it. Whereas if I was going wireless, if I was using my Nighthawk for Wi-Fi as well, and it glitched or whatever and had to reboot, for that, however long, I then have no Wi-Fi between my devices. All the cameras stop. So there's a good, you know, reason at that point for separating my local area network and my internet access too. How can I support your channel? Hey, you can throw in, what do they call it? You know, one of those, I don't know what they call it on YouTube. Were you on YouTube? You're on YouTube. You can make a donation through the chat thing. So that is one way to support the channel there. You could also, if you see a video that you like, you can take it and share it from the YouTube channel, because I've got lots of content over here. And I also write for Streaming Media Magazine, and I also offer consulting over here. You can just go to the Contact Us page on StreamTek.us. But I've only gotten a couple of the comments with money, I guess they call them. I forget what they call super chats, or, you know, they try not to say money, but that's what it is. Send us a super chat, and we'll put you on and things like that. You're already on. You could super chat if you want. If you have a course or something on all of this, I'd love to purchase it. I've been thinking of putting together a course, but that takes a lot of work to do all the writing and scripting and editing and everything, and then make it available and constantly promote it. Whew, that's a lot of work. Whereas, hey, you could just go over to the YouTube channel and go to the videos and then just type in NDI. And then this will show you the various videos that I've done on NDI. And as you can tell, I've been talking about it for a little bit. Hey, there's the all in on NDI video that's a companion to the article that I wrote for Streaming Media. And that goes on for some time. So I tend to talk about NDI a lot because I find it very handy. But like I said, super chat for today would be great. And That's really what I wanted to do, is impart this knowledge to people, because I know NDI can seem daunting. I don't understand how the video gets around, and Wi-Fi, especially when we're talking about 4K NDI being wireless. Again, it's understanding that you don't have control over what goes through the air. You can try your best. I can have the best wireless router out there. I could do that. And I could say, listen, I bought this badass thing and it's just going to blah, blah, blah. And then somebody shows up with a couple wireless video transmitters and just takes out entire swaths of my bandwidth. And I'm left, there's Wi-Fi walkie-talkies, there's Bluetooth headphones, there's all of that uses the exact same spectrum. And, with TCP/IP, you are not the priority. It is, local area networking is a permission and collision protocol. It'll send, and if two things send at the same time, they collide and they each back off. They each wait a random amount of time and transmit again. That's the protocol. Whereas these Holylands and the Teradeks and all of the other ones, they don't care. It's like going out there with a bullhorn. I am transmitting, I am transmitting, I am transmitting, and it doesn't care about anybody else. Doesn't care about collisions, doesn't care about anybody else who is trying to use that frequency. They just do it. And that can cause problems. And then, if you're doing sports, there can be things in the sports arena also using those same frequencies for wireless video and things like that are installed in those venues. So you test at home or in your studio, you test. This is all great. And then you go on location. And then once the game gets ready to start, they fire up this stuff. And now all of a sudden, things that worked great don't. And it's not the failure of the tools you're using, it's the competition in the airspace. Would getting a Starlink be better than bonding AT&T and Verizon cell services for streaming in most locales? Cellular, I feel, becomes more of a challenge if there are big audiences. And one of the things that I work on is the Fort Worth Parade of Lights. There's a couple thousand people around where the production truck is. So we partner with AT&T to actually get an Ethernet line strung out to the truck so that we have a hard line. We're not competing with them via wireless. That said, I have had cellular as a backup to the wire, set them as secondary. And I have had cellular as a backup should the wired line, kids outside be hanging on it, or whatever, something happen, it would drop and everything, and we would fail over to the cellular backup and hopefully still get a signal through. Again, with the competition. I know people that go to big, sports games and stadiums, and the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to be trying to use the same tower or the venue Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi, the in-venue cellular that has been installed there, because that's what everybody else is hammering as well. So, I read stories, about people who do lots of sports regularly, and they set up in the press box, and then what they do is they have a couple directional antennas that they aim outward from the top of the stadium bleachers. So they're aiming to other towers that are not near where everybody else is using. Everybody else is hitting the closest tower. They're aiming to the next one or the one after that, so that they're hitting a tower that is not saturated, that has additional bandwidth to be serving. And cellular also has the ability to grow in size, the size of their cell sites, decrease radiated power so that another one outside the area can increase radiated power and provide a little bit of coverage and bandwidth. There's a lot of technology going on there. But that's at heavily populated public events. That's when I would say relying on cellular, even bonded cellular, becomes more of a challenge. And we've had a live view at the parade, and even with 4 modems, there's only 3 carriers anymore. Even with 4 modems, it's been hit or miss depending upon what they can get in between the buildings of the city where they're at. Starlink could be better as long as you don't have to be mobile, because that thing has to be sitting in one spot. It has to know the trajectory of everything moving above it. It has to have a clear line of sight. So in the middle of Manhattan would not be a good location for Starlink. It would be a better location for cellular. But if you're out where you can have a clear line of sight, you can have a spot where this is going to sit, unobstructed view, and it can track, because those satellites are flying by and you're constantly being handed off to another satellite every so many seconds or so. And that way, Starlink can indeed be better, because nobody else on the ground is trying to use that connection when you're trying to use it. And the bandwidth is low enough that it doesn't really challenge Starlink at all. So I hope that answers the question. Send me a super chat. I wanted to continue along with, here it is, with this a little bit and show you that I've got these 4 right here. Let me add a video. I'm adding a video source. I'm tapping. I want to add a 4 view. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. And now you can see I've got these 4 inputs up on the screen. Done. I'm not going to bother to put the background on it. I'm going to make it full size. I'm going to put it up nice and big. So now you can see I've got these 4 inputs and they're all smooth. And remember, these 4 inputs are going into the YOLOBox Extreme via Ethernet, but they're also going into the laptop via Ethernet at the same time. So I am doubling the output of the NDI for these devices. Another thing I want to mention, and I don't know if the YOLOBox and vMix do it, but it's something that the TriCaster did. And if somebody who knows more in depth about how the vMix handles the previews, that would be great, or how the YOLOBox handles the previews. But the TriCaster had this really cool thing whereby all of the previews were a lower resolution. And that goes back to the NDI protocol, which handles, here is your big bandwidth main signal. And then down here is like this tiny little 1 megabit preview, 320 by 240, whatever, tiny little preview. That's down here. And the TriCaster would use the preview for all of the previews. So you could have 20 things connected. But if you're playing a video and program, you're bringing in 20 little 1 megabit previews. Very low bandwidth. Very cool. Then when you put that one program in, that one source into preview, and then tells the device, it switches over to the big bandwidth, high quality version, and then you put it in the program. That way, you're not trying to drag all the sources in at full bandwidth all the time. And it lowers the demands on your network. So that is a really cool feature of NDI. Again, I know the TriCaster worked that way. I do not know if vMix pulls in the higher quality for just the preview and program, because these are definitely higher quality and clearer, or if it pulls it in for everything else that is in the previews as well, because these could definitely be low resolution, quarter frame, standard def, quarter frame of standard def resolution, low bit rates, but high frame rates, so you can see what's going on. So you can see when I move my hands, they're all moving just fine. They're all full motion. That's cool. But at the same time, by lowering the bit rate, you lower your demands on the network. Until, of course, you do something like this, and you put 4 of them in the program, then it's going to demand the high quality version of all 4 of those and put those on the screen at the same time. So those 4 are all pushing high quality, at least to the YOLOBox. High quality, full screen, full motion, up on the screen. Let me come back out of that. And that is something that is, oh, look at that. He did find it. Thank you very much. I will put that on the screen. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And that's something anybody can do at any time. If you find the information I deliver to be useful, you can throw in a super chat. Again, you know, YouTube takes their portion, but hey, it's very nice and thoughtful of you to do that. I appreciate you very much. What I was talking about here is now I've got these 4 inputs, and when I go to add a source and I go to NDI, it says it'll do up to 6 HX. So I think I have 6. We'll see as it comes up. Which one? I don't think I have the one that's looking out the window, but the real question is that's the one that's looking out the window. So I have the tail air, the other tail air, the AV cans, the Maki Live, this one is the tail 2. So the one I don't have is the bird dog. NDI. And we will add that last one. Bird dog, done. Now, one thing, now as this comes in, this one may take a little longer because it's coming from a different, type of camera. One thing that I've wanted to make mention is some people like to use SRT. SRT has built-in redundancy. It's sort of like a forward and backward error correcting protocol. So as each frame or each packet goes, that packet has a little bit of data from the previous packet and a little bit of data for the next packet. So there's a little bit of redundancy. So if you miss a packet, it can kind of make up that data. And SRT has an adjustable delay. So the bigger the delay you give it, the more it can do this error correction and the bigger loss you can have with your packets, and it will still deliver clean video. That's great. An adjustable delay is something that NDI does not have. But, you're adjusting more delay. You can't adjust it to no delay. It has to have some sort of delay in order to have that redundancy. It kind of makes sense. Plus, you're also compressing and decompressing it. So there has to be some sort of delay. SRT is not inherently faster than NDI. SRT is a different protocol that offers error correction, which NDI does not have. So you have that ability to handle some error correction, which I don't feel, speaking as a producer, opinion, I don't feel is necessary if you're providing the network. If it's your local area network and I'm bringing the hardware and I've tested it, I shouldn't have to use SRT to protect against a bad network if I'm the one providing the network. How about I just provide a good network, a good reliable network? Now you could use SRT if, for instance, you have a roving camera that's going to be on the other side of the field. There. Now you're entering a use case where you're at the extreme ends of what this might be able to reach. Now you might be dropping packets. Then SRT, in the midst of your LAN, in the midst of your local area network, actually does have a use case. You can bring SRT in from that location back to you and have the error protocol handle dropped packets. The downside is you lose all control because SRT is, here's my video. Whereas NDI is, here's the video, here's, I'll tell you what to do with tally. Here's your camera control. Here's this, it's a bi-directional protocol. Here, zoom in, do that. Go to this preset. Here's the new video. It's a bi-directional protocol. So NDI has that advantage, but it does not have the redundancy of the packets that SRT can offer. So SRT does have a place, but I feel in terms of if you're setting up in a conference room, in multiple conference rooms, and you're building your network, you can build it such that you can manage all of the advantages of NDI without dropping your packets to need SRT. Thoughts on that? So, interestingly enough, let's go back. The NDI from the bird dog does not want to come into the Extreme, even though it's still plenty fine. Hello. It's plenty fine over there. Go figure. So it's very interesting that that one doesn't want to come over here on this side. Or maybe I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've used 5 of the 6. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 cameras. So my goal was to saturate the Extreme and then call up the NDI. Maybe I can still do that. NDI. I was wondering, what is it going to say? Like, oh, you've already connected to all 6. Nope, it's just showing me the same list again. Interesting. Can I bring in the AV cans again? Apparently I can. That's interesting. Can I bring in more? Again, this is like what I was saying before. Now, technically, it's bringing in the same stream twice, so I don't know if that technically counts as additional streams. Bring in the tail 2 again. Nope. Supports up to 2 NDI FX or 6. So oops, sorry, you're not seeing that. My bad. What I did here was I brought in the AV cans on the bottom. Look overhead. What I did was I brought in the AV cans here. The bird dog had not fully arrived. It has not fully set itself up. So I'm just going to delete this one. Delete. And now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's going to let me, it's going through this whole process here. Like, oh, you want to add some more? Sure, let's add some more. And then I can say, add this one. Done. And then it's going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it does know that I already have those and it's just duplicating, which you can actually just, duplicate in here. You can just replicate the same source that way in here, which you don't have to, which I'm not trying to do. Done. But when I had the NDI, let's go try to bring that bird dog in again. It does get to 6 and then it does stop. It comes up with a warning at the bottom saying you can't do that. This one might not populate because I don't know if it's having an issue populating on this device. So it's not going to give me the warning. But it does top out at 6. It does give me a warning saying no more. No more for you. And that is what I wanted to find out so that I can have all of these 4 and then I go to 2 and I can do various multi-views of that and I can pull this down and you can see that I'm only at 34% of memory. My CPU usage is 55%. My temperature is not that high either. And I am doing this at, I'm doing this at 1080p. Well, I could increase stream encoding live. I could set this to 4K. And my record, let's set that to 4K. And then we're done. So let's go back to this. Interesting. I'm like, I expected it to, like, I don't know, do something. And my memory and CPU usage don't seem to have changed much either, which is kind of curious. Jumping it to a 4K show. So this has been a look at taking multiple 4K signals wirelessly into my network. All 6 of these signals are wireless. You've been watching them the entire time. They've been solid the entire time. And the challenge for you is to find the gear that works for you, that works the way you want to work. One of the things that some people want to do is I need to have that camera way over there. Well, you can use a wireless point-to-point system too that works with Ethernet. That works with TCP/IP. So the camera is still doing NDI as it knows it, and it's a bidirectional protocol. These are not bidirectional protocols. I cannot control the camera with these. Whereas with NDI, if I use a point-to-point wireless, I can have one at the end zone where the camera is pointed at me, and I have one in the in the press box aimed down at that camera. So now these two things are aiming at each other. I can have really long distance between them because they're not moving. Whereas when I was talking about SRT, I'm talking about a camera that's roving the whole sideline or whatever. That becomes a little bit more challenging. So I've got these point-to-point protocol then that is going to augment whatever cameras you have working locally with whatever router, wireless router you end up using. You know, again, there are professional systems out there, Cisco systems, Netgear has systems, and there's a lot of solutions out there. There isn't a wireless certification that is going to ever promise 100% wireless NDI success. It can't, because there are other things on the same frequencies that are out of the control, out of the awareness of this device. You can do a Wi-Fi scan, and I actually have that set up here. You can do a Wi-Fi scan. Let's go to my overhead. Go away. It's an ad. Go away. Go away. And it's going to look at the 2.4 gigahertz. This is on Android. This is an app called Wi-Fi Analyzer, and it shows me what Wi-Fi is available. Now, you could have dozens of these. It's showing you the strength of that Wi-Fi access point, and it's showing me where it sits in the frequency spectrum or what channel it's on. These pink ones are centered on channel 1. These yellow ones are centered on channel 3. The green one's on channel 6. That turquoise one is on channel 8. These purple are on channel 11. And that's all we get in the US. In Japan, I think they go up to channel 14. And so if you wanted to put up a new one, you could say, oh, I want you to be on channel 5, because there's a little bit of a hole there for me to put my data. But the thing you are not seeing here is anything else. You're not seeing anything else that transmits on these frequencies. I can see that there is something on that channel. It also doesn't tell me that there's a bunch of data on it or not. Like my ROG, which is one of these purple ones, that can be transmitting and receiving tons of data. The thing will look exactly the same as the one that's not sending or receiving any data. All this is basically saying is, Bob lives in this house. He opened up his door and said, hi. That's all it's saying. I have no idea how full the house is. And if I go to 5 gigahertz, you can see here's my ST ROG. Well, it should actually be really strong because it's right next to me. There's my ST ROG, and it's on a narrow band. I should actually probably open that band up a little bit. And then you can see there's Frisco Studios here. There's other ones down here. And you can see some have a bigger bandwidth than mine. And this still doesn't show this, because this is not a spectrum analyzer. This is just asking, it's listening for wireless Wi-Fi IP handshakes. Who are you? What channel are you on? And how loud are you? I have no idea how much traffic is passing through, and I have no idea what else is going on. So people who are saying just do a Wi-Fi scan don't know what they're talking about, because this only shows you what house everybody lives in and how close they are or how loud they are to you. It doesn't tell you anything about how much traffic is passing through or on those channels. And it doesn't tell you anything about anything that's not Wi-Fi. And 6 gigahertz, I don't think I have anything on 6 gigahertz. So if you wanted to, 6 gigahertz is wide open. Indeed, 2147, just joining. I'm going to watch it now from the beginning. Well, when you get here, I will say, hi, thanks for coming. Thank you very much to everyone who has joined the show. I really appreciate all of you being here for these shows and throwing in your questions and helping to drive the show along, because I know a lot of people have had Wi-Fi questions. A lot of people have NDI questions. And having just done a show on 4K, I felt this would be a fairly apropos time to talk about 4K Wi-Fi NDI. And people are like, I see people poo-poo it all the time. NDI sucks. Actually, somebody commented on the other video that I made, NDI sucks. And what if I was going to send 6 4K Wi-Fi signals over NDI? Would that suck? Would that be bad? Because it's happening right there. It's been happening there the entire hour and 15 minutes of this show without an issue. So does this suck? That's my question. Does Wi-Fi suck? I don't think so. And I hope this gives you the information you need to go out there, know what you're looking for, and be able to make the right choices and do the tests you need to make sure that you have something that's reliable for your production. My name is Anthony Barocas. I am the Chief Gearhead here at StreamTek, and I thank all of you for watching the show this week, next week, and all the weeks. Again, if you want to help me out, you can send a super chat during a live show, or you can go to the YouTube channel, find a video you like, and share it to your local network or in a user group or Discord or whatever that you're in, because that helps me reach audiences that may not know about what we do here at StreamTek. Till next time, thanks for watching.